Hi and welcome to section 2.5 for Econ 1 on the AQA exam board. What will we see today? Today we'll be looking at income elasticity of demand, normal and inferior goods, changes in taste and changes in expectations. Let's just start by looking at the function of demand again. So demand is a function of price, the price of other goods, income, taste and expectations. A change in price is the only factor that can cause a movement along a demand curve. A change in any of the four other factors results in a shift of the demand curve. Today we're going to be looking at what a change in the last three factors have on demand. So income, taste and expectations. This brings us on to income elasticity of demand, which measures the responsiveness of demand for a good following a change in income. It is worked out by using the following formula. Income elasticity of demand equals percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in income. There are two main types of relationships between income and goods. The first type is normal goods, and the second type is inferior goods. Let's first look at normal goods. Normal goods have a positive value for income elasticity of demand, meaning that if income rises, the demand for that good also rises. Also, if a consumer's income falls, the demand for that normal good also falls. So here we have a demand curve for a normal good. The price in this market is P1, and with a level of demand of D, the amounts that will be demanded is Q. Now we're going to have an increase in income for our consumers. This causes demand to shift outwards because a rise in income increases the demand for that good. Therefore, demand shifts outward from D to D1. If we assume that the price stays at P1, this leads to a greater quantity being consumed. With the new level of demand D1 and a price of P1, Q1 is then consumed in the market. We can also show what the effect of a decrease in income is. A decrease in income will result in demand shifting inwards from D to D2. If we assume that the price in the market stays at P1, this leads to less being consumed in the market. With the new level of demand of D2, which is the level of demand after income falls, the quantity demanded in the market is Q2, which is less than Q. So like I mentioned earlier, normal goods have a positive value for income elasticity of demand, because as income rises, so does the demand for that good. Then, a positive divided by a positive gives a positive value for income elasticity of demand. Also, a decrease in income causes a lower quantity of that good to be demanded on the market. So you would have a negative divided by a negative, which would give you a positive value for income elasticity of demand. The value of income elasticity of demand will tell us how responsive demand is to a rise in income. If the value of income elasticity of demand is greater than 1, it means that demand increases by more than income. These types of goods are known as normal luxuries. A value of income elasticity of demand between 0 and 1 means that demand increases, but by less than the increase in income. These goods are known as normal necessities. So normal luxuries have a value for income elasticity of demand that is greater than 1. As an individual's income increases, you have more disposable income to spend on luxury goods. If your income falls, normal luxury goods tend to be the goods that individuals cut quickest. For example, suppose my income halved, I would stop eating out, buying fine wines, chocolates or cheeses, and stop going to concerts. These types of goods are normal luxury goods. The second type of normal goods are normal necessities, and these have a value for income elasticity of demand between 0 and 1. These are goods whereby demand rises by less than the rise in income. An example would be petrol, cleaning equipment like tea towels or washing up liquid, or fruit. If your income increases, you will demand more of these goods, but you would not increase your demand for these goods dramatically. For example, if my income was to double, I wouldn't buy double the amount of tea towels. I would increase my consumption of tea towels, but by a considerably less amount than the increase in income. Now let's look at the second type of relationship between goods and income. These are inferior goods. Inferior goods are those goods and services that usually have a superior good available. As income rises, consumers consume less of inferior goods. And as income falls, consumers consume more inferior goods. So here we have a demand curve for an inferior good. The demand curve is D, and we are going to assume that the price in this market stays at P1. With a price of P1 and a demand curve of D, this leads to a quantity of Q being consumed in the market. Now we're going to say that our consumers have an increase in income. As consumers' income has increased, consumers are going to switch from consuming these inferior goods to consuming more superior goods. This leads to demand shifting inwards, which is from D to D1. If the price in the market was to stay at P1, the new level of demand of D1 leads to a lower quantity being consumed in the market. Now, Q1 is consumed rather than Q. Now we are going to assume the opposite, and our consumers have a decrease in income. As our consumers' income decreases, it means that consumers switch from consuming superior goods and now choose to consume inferior goods. This causes demand to shift outward from D to D2. At a price of P1 and this new level of demand, a greater quantity is consumed. Q2 is now consumed, which is greater than Q. A prime example of inferior goods is supermarket basic brands. If your income rises, you are likely to switch from consuming the basic brands to consuming more premium brands. Whereas if your income falls, you are more likely to switch to the smart price brands or the Tesco value brands, or choose to shop at Aldi or Lidl. So a fall in income results in a greater level of demand for inferior goods, and a rise in income results in a lower level of demand for inferior goods. So now let's look at a timeline that explains what the different values for income elasticity of demand mean. A negative value for income elasticity of demand means that the good is an inferior good. This means that as income rises, demand for that good falls, and as income falls, demand for that good rises. A positive value for income elasticity of demand means that the good is a normal good. Normal goods can be split into two different types. A value for income elasticity of demand between 0 and 1 means that the good is a normal necessity. This means that as income rises, the demand for that good rises, but by less than the increase in income. The other type of normal good is normal luxury goods, which is where the value for income elasticity of demand is greater than 1. This means that as income rises, demand for that good or service rises by a greater amount than the rise in income. The final value of income elasticity of demand that is interesting is a value of 0. This means that a change in income has no effect on demand. So that is changes in income looked at. Now we're going to look at changes in taste. A change in taste results in a shift in the demand curve. It can arise for a variety of different reasons, such as advertising or endorsements by celebrities, the arrival of new information, a shift away from consuming certain goods, realizing the costs/risks or benefits associated with consuming that good or services. For example, consumers realizing the costs of smoking and decreasing their demand for cigarettes or cigars. Another example is consumers realizing the benefits of eating healthily and exercising. This would cause an increase in demand and result in the demand curve shifting outwards. The final factor we are going to look at is changes in expectations, and a change in expectations will result in a shift in the demand curve. Expectations are key in economics, and economic agents are always formatting expectations. If consumers expect there to be a release of a new product, such as a new phone with bigger memory and longer battery life, they may choose to delay their purchase, which would cause an inward shift of the demand curve. If individuals believe that the price of a good will increase in the future, they may choose to buy now instead of buying later, because the price now is cheaper than what the price will be in the future. Another example of an expectation is if a worker is worried about his job security or the future, they may choose to decrease their consumption now as a precaution, even though they haven't yet lost their job. And this would result in an inward shift of demand. For expectations and taste, there are no elasticities to be known because you cannot quantify what the change in taste is, and you cannot quantify the changes in expectations.